This month, we are diving into the book that helps millions of professionals to have crucial conversations. And this is the Crucial Conversation Tools for talking when stakes are high. And we will talk about the details. What does it mean to have a crucial conversation, and why does it matter to be on top of your speech and control your emotions in these discussions? It's like the high level understanding what is a crucial conversation. There are 3 key factors when stakes are high, when opinions vary, and emotions run strong. So the first condition is stakes are high. This means that the outcome of the conversation matters. It could impact careers, relationship, or project success. You can think of like discussion with your partner if you want to move to a new house or a new country. You can talk about your promotion with your manager, and you feel like this talk should really go well because it impacts what you can expect in the coming year or 2. The goal is to stay focused on the long-term value rather than seeking for quick emotional relief. So even if you get some feedback that you don't like, you should not get out of the path, but discuss the topic you have to discuss. Then there is the second point, the opinions vary. Differing opinion, that's normal. Some of us have different opinions, and in the conversation, we need to discuss that. Again, it's really difficult to fall into the trap of stopping the conversation because we don't like the different opinions or start to get aggressive. We again need to stay focused, but this is again a symptom of a crucial conversation. And the third one is the emotions run strong. So when emotions are high, then sometimes logic is low. We can hear that. So think of a moment when you had to give feedback after a major failure. The emotion stakes are high, so it's easy to trigger defensiveness. And again, you cannot discuss the topic you want, but it starts to again differ from the main goal of the conversation. So remember, stakes are high, opinions vary, and emotions run strong. And here you can see the main steps. So now we understand what is the crucial conversation. We can look how to master this. There are three key phases of this crucial conversation that we need to follow. First, you need to think before you speak. Before you say anything, check your mindset. Ask yourself, what do I really want from this conversation? This is what the author calls start with heart. Focus on what you really want. You need to master your story, separate facts from emotion. We will dive into the details, but definitely you need to focus on what the topic is about and not how you feel people are treating you. And avoid a fool's choice, look for end solution. So it's not shutting down and not getting into aggressive conversations. So think before you speak. The next one is opening the conversation. Learn to look. How is the situation in the conversation when topic starts to differ? Make it safe, restore respect and purpose. When we all think of a meeting room discussion, sometimes we can see that there is a point when the discussion starts to differ and start to be more emotional. And state your path. Share facts, tell your story, and invite dialogue. And after that, move to action. So explore others' views, agree on the clear next steps, and follow through. We will dive into the details. So what I'm planning to do, walk you through the key steps of the book, part 1, part 2, and part 3. After that, I will give you some memory cards that you can make a photo of how to deal with key conversations, and then we will practice a little bit in breakout. So let's go to the parts. So there are 3 parts of the book, and this is the skeleton of the book as well. What to do before you open your mouth, how to open your mouth, and how to finish. So let's get to the details. Part 1 is about what to do before you open your mouth. Choose your topic, choose the right topic, start with heart, and master your story. So part 1 is all about preparing yourself. Most people think communication starts when you speak, but in high stakes moments, it starts already before you start to speak. This section gives us the key tools, choose the right conversation, understand the real motives you have, and examines the stories you are telling yourself. So chapter 3 to 5 describes this. So in the book, there is a story about a manager who thinks a team member is being lazy and missing deadlines, and that manager might think these people are lazy, they don't do their activities. But if he steps back, he realizes he never shared his values, sharing that people needs to be responsible for the committed deadlines. So when he opens the conversation or discusses with a specific colleague that he feels like something is missing or what values he has, then he clarifies that the person had personal life problems. This is a typical example of a conversation that needs to happen, and it needs to be approached in the right way because it can start emotions, defensiveness. So first, before you open your mouth, you need to think how you will approach the problem. Let's go to the chapter 3, choose your topic. So you need to focus on the right topic. Before jumping into a conversation, pause and ask yourself, what is the actual issue I need to address? Many conflicts swirl around the symptoms. Choosing your topic means identifying the core concern that matters the most. Maybe it's not about the missed deadline, but about a recurring pattern of a commitment. It's really something that you need to think through before you address the problem. And here there was an example about someone who was afraid to speak up in a meeting. So that person was thinking, I cannot speak up, people will not take me seriously because I have an accent, I have problem with English, it is my second or third language, and when I'm talking to the US, team members from the US, they just neglect my opinion. But before you address it, first you need to think through, is the issue the real issue what you face with, or you tell stories for yourself. The next chapter is about start with heart, how to stay focused on what you really want. So before we even speak, we need to check it with ourselves. Start with heart because your intention drives everything. In moments of stress or disagreement, our natural instinct is to defend, blame, or push. But this step reminds us to pause and ask, what do I really want for me, for them, or for the relationship? If you are moving towards silence or violence, if you feel the urge to withdraw or push harder, you are probably losing shift of what matters the most. Also, we must learn to avoid what the authors call the fool's choice. So that false belief that we must choose between speaking up or preserving peace. The truth is we can do both. That is where the dialogue lives. So if you move towards silence or violence, it means that you start to differ from what you really want to do. And it shouldn't be that you shut down or continue, it should be end. So you need to consider other possibilities. And we will go to the details so you will understand these examples more. The chapter 5 was about mastering my stories, how to stay in dialogue when you are angry, scared, or hurt. Mastering your stories is about noticing the internal narrative we create, especially when we are angry, hurt, or scared. We often assume our emotions are caused by what happened, but in reality, they come from the story we tell ourselves about what happened, and then our emotions run high. The book identifies 3 types of clever stories, shortcuts our brain takes to protect us, but actually this is not helping to get an honest dialogue. So these clever stories we tell ourselves in a conversation, when we leave the conversation and we say, oh, this didn't went well because of this and this and this, these are stories, we are blindsiding ourselves and we need to recognize that. So victim is the first one, it's not my fault. So my team never includes me in decisions. Clearly, they don't respect me, we tell ourselves. But the reality is I haven't voiced that I would like to be part of the early discussion. Or we blame, they are wrong or unfair. The colleague is impossible. He just wants to undermine me. But the truth is, the other colleague is also protecting his deadlines and I haven't asked him about his concern. Or there is the third one. Let me go back. Helpless. So there is nothing I can do. This is a story we tell ourselves. There is nothing I can do. This team is set in their ways. But the truth, I haven't actually tried suggesting a new approach. I am assuming already it will not work. So sometimes we recognize ourselves in this situation and we need to be aware because this is how we are hurting ourselves, while the reality is something different. And then comes part 2, how to open your mouth. Learn to look, make it safe, state my path, explore others' paths, and retake your pen. These are the chapters in the part 2. So now that we looked at how to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, and strategically, we move into the moment of truth, opening your mouth. This part is the book teaches us to speak clearly, stay grounded under pressure, and create a safe space for real dialogue. even when things get tense. So you can see here the chapters we will walk through again. Hope you can take some notes or there is some takeaway, but definitely we will share the slide afterwards, and you can also see it on YouTube if you like this high-level summary of the book. Learn how to look, how to notice when safety is at risk. So we are in a conversation. And again, I think that for us professionals, the easier to imagine is like there is a meeting room with different opinions, and you just know two colleagues who always end up in arguments. That is a clear sign that the space is not safe and the conversation needs to be restored. So learning to look is the first real-time skill in mastering crucial conversation. It means becoming aware of yourself and to others, so you can recognize when a conversation is no longer safe. People often assume that things are going fine until they suddenly aren't. This step is about noticing the moment things start to shift, when someone goes quiet, sarcastic, or defensive. These are signals that safety is breaking down. So we can look at the two key categories, silence and violence, and what they actually look like in professional setting. So we need to learn to spot the signs of silence or the signs of violence. And here you can see many examples: withdrawing, avoiding, masking, or controlling, labeling, and attacking. So here I give you examples. So again, it's a takeaway. You need to recognize next time when is the point when it becomes not safe. Withdrawing. A team member stops talking entirely during a meeting. They physically lean back, stop making eye contact, or disengage. What is avoiding? Someone keeps steering the topic away from the real issue. You try to address a deadline, but they change the subject to something less sensitive. Masking. An engineer responds with sarcasm or vague jokes instead of saying what they really mean. It's a humor as a shield. As I'm working in an engineering environment, I can prove that there are some engineers giving many sarcastic jokes when the reality is the problem is something else they would like to address. So here we need to be smart and restore the safe space and ask about the details. Going back to the signs of violence. Some of it makes sense, but I give you some example. Controlling. A project lead dominates the discussion, cutting others off, or insisting their plan is the only way. Others don't get a word in. Labeling is when somebody says, this is a typical of the marketing team. They always overpromise. It shifts the focus from the issue to an identity attack. And the book was also giving another example. Lawyers are always bad. You can never trust lawyers. This is again shifting the conversation, and we don't stay on track to discuss what we really want to discuss in a conversation. And the last one is attacking. The stakeholder raises their voice, rolls their eyes, or make it personal. You really were not prepared for this call. And again, your emotions run high, and you need to recognize this moment, and you need to know that this is the moment I need to step in, and I need to make this space safe rather than attack back. Let's go to chapter 7, make it safe. How to make it safe to talk about almost anything. So even when we are prepared and chosen the right words, conversations fall apart when people don't feel safe. Make it safe is about restoring that trust by showing respect and clarifying your intent. You don't have to agree with someone to make them feel safe. You only need to start to show what you care about their perspective and that they matter. And the book introduces tools like contrasting to clean up misunderstanding and CRIB strategy to rebuild mutual purpose. If someone pulls away or gets defensive, that's a cue to slow down and rebuild safety before continuing. So you can see here these tools, and definitely if you read the book, you will see more examples to do this, but we will see these details later. That is the chapter 8. It's about state my path, how to speak persuasively and not abrasively. So stating your path is about saying what you see, think, and feel, but in a way that invites dialogue, not defensiveness. The state method helps you to do this. Start with facts. They are less controversial. Then explain how you interpret those facts. Invite the other person to share their view. Speak tentatively because your interpretation might not be complete. And always encourage testing your assumptions. It's about clarity without being forceful, sharing your truth without shutting others down. So you can see here the example on the slide. S, share your fact. They have missed 3 sprint deadlines this quarter. facts are least controversial and easiest to agree on. Then T, tell your story. I'm concerned that we might lose client confidence. Explain what those facts mean to you. A, ask others path. How do you see it? Invite their side to avoid monologue. And T, talk tentatively. It seems to me, I wonder if, what I feel is, avoid sounding like you own the truth. And E, encourage testing. Please tell me if I'm missing something here. Signal openness and curiosity. So this is the state framework you can use. I believe most of us who work with people who needs to use their soft skills, we already apply this, but it is a nice framework. We need to remind ourselves, make sure that your it is not the only one, and invite others to verify. I think this is a great framework, and I made some memory cards to the very end so you can save it for later. And we need to focus on the truth without blaming. It's difficult, but we can get there. Then we go to chapter 9, explore others' path. We are about halfway of the book, so soon we can get into the conversation with a group. So it will not be a one-sided conversation, but we can discuss situations soon. So how to listen when others blow up or calm up. Or this is something which is really, again, difficult, and we have all been there. So here is the tools to work with it. Once you have shared your view respectfully, the next step is to truly understand theirs. That's what Explore Others' Path is about, creating space for them to speak freely and feel heard. The AMPP model gives us a tool to do that. We ask open questions, mirror what we see in their body language or tone, paraphrase to show we are tackling in, and when needed, gently prime the conversation when they have gone quiet. We don't have to agree with everything they say, but we do need to understand it, and we need to have a true dialogue. So you can see here again, AMPP skills on the slide, and you can make a picture later on. We will have a memory card about it. A, S, to get things rolling. How do you see it? Invite them without pressure. M is the mirror to confirm feelings. You seem hesitant. Am I reading that right? Reflect their emotions with empathy. P is paraphrase for clarity. So you are saying we are overcommitting with the scope. Restate to show you are taking. And then P, prime when they go silent. I get the sense you might be worried about pushback if you speak up. Would that be fair? So gently surface concerns when they hold back. So this is a nice tool, again, to understand others' ways without running into high emotions. And then retake your pen. This is the last chapter in part 2, and then we go to part 3. How to be resilient when hearing tough feedback. So retaking your pen means recognizing when you have handed the pen over to emotion or assumptions. Instead of letting frustration, fear, or old narratives drive the conversation, you pause and rewrite the story intentionally. When conversation break down, we often fill the gaps with our own mental stories, usually worst-case scenarios. This chapter teaches us to pause, reframe, and shift from reaction to purpose. It's about ownership. You may not control others, but you control the story you act on. So don't let silence or emotion write your story for you. Take back control of your narrative. Ask, what story am I telling myself? Choose the story that leads to dialogue and action, and reclaim your power with clarity and accountability. So part 3 is about how to finish. The last part of the book focuses on something many people overlook, how to finish well. So we have prepared ourselves, spoken respectfully, listened carefully, but if we don't move to clear action, we need to handle resistance as well. So we need to move to action. We need to handle people at the very end of the talk, yeah, but, and putting it all together. So these 3 chapters are move to action, how to turn crucial conversation into action and results. The dialogue isn't the end, the action is, and we need to decide on how decision will be made, command, consult, vote, or consensus. We need to turn conversation into clear commitments, who will do what by when. This is, again, familiar for us project managers, and follow up to build accountability. So up this point, we've learned how to prepare ourselves, express our views, and invite others into a dialogue. But here is the truth: dialogue is not the goal, but the results are. So here we addressed it. Putting it all together, yeah, but advice for tough cases. So you can expect pushback and emotional resistance. You discussed everything. You shared your views. You shared what is the solution for the issue. And it seems like everybody is buying in, but there is one person in the room saying like, yeah, but. And then you ask, what is the situation? What stops you? And an example again in a room. All disciplines agree that this timeline is good, but then somebody leans back and says, yeah, but I don't believe it will work. And then you need to ask again, why do you think it happens? Do I understand correctly the tools that we were already asking? And then you might get into the conversation again that somebody was not speaking up so far, and then you need to resolve it and understand it to add it as an input for your, let's say, project when in a professional situation. We use the same tools here: check for safety, restate your purpose, and explore what is still bothering them. This is where real mastery shows up, not when you go smoothly, but here you can, again, practice the tools you learned from this book. So you need to confirm the understanding before moving forward again. So there is no yeah, but again. And now we are putting it all together. So this is the last chapter of the book, tools for preparing and learning. So this is a mastery to combine all the skills we learned, and we need to build a habit: pause, reflect, choose, and act. This final chapter is where the rubber meets the road. It's not about using one or two skills perfectly. It's about knowing when to pause, reflect, and apply the right tool in the moment. So let me give you some examples when we go into the details, and then we will circle back to this. So we need to aim for progress, not perfection, and create a culture of safe, honest conversation. This was the short summary of the book. So this was the last chapter what I explained here. And if some of you already read the book, you know that there are so many examples in the book that it's really worth to read, because we really can recognize ourselves in the situations. We have been in a place when we were high on emotions and we shut down. We were in discussion when it was about everything, but not the topic itself. So this guidance really helps us to continue to improve our conversation in a workplace. The key to real influence is not just being right, it's being effective with people who think you are wrong. So that is a good takeaway from the book, and again, shows us the challenge in a conversation. So the next slides will have a little bit of summary of what we learned, and you can make a photo, take it for yourself, or maybe for the practice session that comes afterwards. Here you can see the memory card for the state. So what I would advise, make a picture with your form so you remember later. This is the next one. This is a structured approach or framework where we can apply whenever the emotions are high. Sometimes we need to remember the face, this framework to cool us down.
Thanks for joining. See you at our next book club in June.